Welcome to Life Planning 101, brought to you by Kennedy Financial Services of Eastland. Tune in every Monday morning at 8:30 on KATX and KWBY, and again on Saturday morning at 9 on KATX and KWBY as Angela Robinson joins Terry Slavens to share important financial information to help you live life on purpose. Insurance, investments, estate and tax planning, and much more. All covered now on Life Planning 101.
And welcome into Life Planning 101 right here on KTX, KDY. Terry Slavens with you, joined by Angela Robinson. Good morning, Angela.
Good Monday morning, Holy Week Monday morning. Coronavirus continues Monday morning. This is interesting times that we live in. And I don't know about you, but Palm Sunday just was a little bit odd yesterday.
Very different, sitting at home listening to worship. And of course, you have lots of choices to listen to between Facebook Live and radio.
This is right.
I actually talked to my mother in Illinois. She said, I went to church in Eastland, Texas this morning.
Fun. Yeah. Well, you know, I think, I don't know what it is about coronavirus, and I say this lightly, but I think, you know, we may all come out better on the other end of this. We're more family focused, more centering. You know, we're putting down the devices except to check on people and check on the status of our country, and we've put our priorities in order, so to speak.
Absolutely.
And,
if you talk about a stock, I compared this to talking to Kay over the weekend. The stock market from time to time has to make an adjustment.
That's right.
And I think the world is making an adjustment now.
Yes, for the better. And I say that lightly because I know there's a lot of families grieving. There's families that are losing loved ones. There's people that are in pain from the virus itself. And our hearts and prayers are with you every step of the way. And we did a show a little bit last week about, you know, getting through this, so to speak, and growing through this. And if you didn't listen to that show, I strongly encourage you to do it. Go back to our podcast. You can find it at kennedy-financial.com. And there's actually also a publication in there with some ideas that are great for you and your family. You know, I've been getting all these, I don't know about you, but I've been getting all these different pictures and funny things. And the best one was this woman trying to work in her house. And she said day 10 of working at home at coronavirus time, and the kid is duct taped to the floor behind her. So I was like, oh, you have no idea how close that is to this feeling. So, you know, we're going through a lot of different things right now, and we're a lot of different feelings that we've never had, and we have to absorb it. We have to focus on it. And, you know, I promised last week, too, that we would be talking about the CARE Act this week because this is big. So our government has basically rolled out 3 phases of what they're calling relief acts, basically, since March 6th. And this was the biggest of all 3 phases. This one was over $2 trillion, right?
Wow.
It was massive. And, you know, it's estimated to cost, in addition to that, $961 billion in tax revenue. Think about that. $961 billion in tax revenue. And, you know, we all talked about, if you remember when this all started, I had listened to, speaking of online, you know, preachers, Stephen Furtick a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about how we keep saying we're all in the same boat. Well, we're not in the same boat. We're in the same storm.
Sure.
But we're all in different boats. Some of us have a raft. Some of us have a worship. We all feel a little bit different about that. That's exactly. Some of us have a canoe. Some of us are just hanging on for dear life. You know, we're all at different places, right? And so this bill kind of shows that. It really covered the gamut, so to speak. And I am just so impressed that the Congress that we have today, with all the partisanship that exists, was able to get this done. And I know there was a lot of hoopla on them getting it done, but they were, because really there's 3 common goals that everybody's got, no matter which side of the aisle you're on. Kill the virus, keep Americans safe, and keep the lights on in our country. And almost every American out there is feeling, or will feel, if they haven't already, this impact that we're having because of coronavirus, either health-wise and or financially, both, right? So yet again, every American is in a little bit different boat. And so I think I say this because these bills are very vast. They're huge. They're very complex.
800 plus pages.
Yeah, 900 pages. Yeah,
900.
yeah, exactly. 900 pages. And there's a lot to work with. And so there's no possible way for us to share everything in this condensed time. Now, I will tell you, we have made it our business to keep up to date with what's going on with this bill. We're reading within our Office of Advisors. I can't tell you how many things that are coming out every single day on the topic and learning about it, because we have to help the families and small businesses that we work with, help them get through this.
Sure.
But I will tell you, there's a lot of misinformation out there too. And so you need to be very careful.
And the scams that
Yes.
have already started.
The scams are really, really big, and just be careful what you're doing. And if heaven forbid, we don't care if you're a client of ours or not, if you're questioning something, call us and we'll validate it for you or not validate it for you, or tell you we don't know if we don't know, right? But don't just do something because you read something about it or clicked on an ad for it, right? Because there's a lot of things out there that are going to happen. And especially I urge you to talk to older people that are in your family. Speaking of scams, there's going to be phone calls that are going to be made, and there is no assistance via phone call through any of this bill. Okay.
And no fees to get your stimulus check.
That's exactly right. You are not going to be paying any money. And we're going to clean up a lot of that on the show today. We're going to talk about just really what I did was I picked out the top 5 things for individuals and families, being that the type of people we work with, right? And then also with small businesses, the top 6 things that you need to think about or know about. And we're going to go through these pretty quickly because, every one of them, like I said, are very vast. There's a lot of details behind them. But what I do want you to know is that we have a ton of resources. So if you have some questions about a particular piece of this legislation, call us. And we'll be able to send you like the common Q&A on that or the details behind that topic, because that's really, really important. Or you can email us. You can go on our website, www.kennedy-financial.com, and just request information on one of these topics. So when we come back, you're not going to want to miss it right here on Life Planning 101, the CARE Act, and other relief programs, what you really need to know.
Welcome back. Life Planning 101, Segment 2. We have lots and lots of great information about the CARES Act. Angela?
Yes, so we're going to get down into the business. Like I mentioned before the break, we've got 5 of the key things that we picked out, what we figured would be the most beneficial or affect people that we work with or like kind, and then 6 for small business owners. So let's get to the cash, because everybody likes the cash, right? And I think this is the most common known piece of the CARE Act, which is the $1,200 payments that are going to be going to families. So it's actually a $1,200 payment to an individual. Okay, so if you're a couple, that's $2,400, right? And then if you have children that are under the age of 17 by the end of this year, you're going to get $500 per dependent for them. Now, here's the thing to note is that this is a phased out deal. So as a married filing jointly, if your adjusted gross income was over $150,000 on the last tax return that you submitted, then that's going to start to phase out till it's gone.
Right.
Okay. So, and don't worry, a lot of people, the question I'm hearing a lot, well, what if I didn't file my 19 tax return yet? It doesn't matter. They'll go off of your 2018 tax return. So you don't have to worry about that. And then the other thing that I'm getting a lot of questions about is what about people that don't file a tax return? You have all these Social Security recipients, right, that are retired and their CPA has said, well, you don't need to file a tax return. Don't worry. Steve Mnuchin, our Treasury Secretary, has said over and over again, don't worry. We're going to be able to get those checks out to you if you're receiving Social Security income. Now, we expect that those are probably going to be the last checks that go. So just keep that in mind. If they got your tax return on file, you're going to probably be getting your stuff first. Okay, so, and last week he said 3 weeks. So we're down to the 2-week mark that we should be starting to see these checks flow into the bank accounts, which is really good. Second thing about this is Trump came out over the weekend and said he wants to do another round. So hopefully he'll push that through Congress and that'll end up happening because, there's been a lot of hoopla from, the Democratic side of the party, and then some outsiders that said it's just not enough. $1,200 is just not enough for people. And so the whole goal I think that the government is trying to do is kind of what the French government is trying to do, is they're saying if we could just close down the government now, close down, the whole world now, and then reopen in 2 months as if nothing ever happened, wouldn't that be great?
Sure.
Right. And so can they actually do that? No, they can't do it, but they're going to try to do everything in their power to try to make it seem that way. And if the whole world will follow suit, then, from an economic standpoint, I was talking to Aaron Friday, we're not going to have a whole lot of difference in currency changes or anything. So, it shouldn't be hugely inflationary unless one country is doing something way different from another developed country, right? And then the second thing to this to note is just know that your taxes are going up in the future. Okay, so individuals and families, right? Number one is cash. Number two, let's talk about required minimum distributions. For those of you who are taking them or were supposed to take them by April 1st of this year for your first one, all that's been waived. So it didn't matter if you turned 72, that's the new year this year, or if you were 70 and a half last year and you waited to take your required minimum distribution to April 1st, you don't have to do it. So everything's been waived. And I know we're a little past April 1st, so hopefully you've had that communicated to you, right? But what's really good about that is you don't have to sell if you don't need to.
Right.
And, a lot of times we're real big advocates of taking an RMD and reinvesting it back into a non-qualified joint or an individual account anyway. But when you're having these huge volatile swings in the market, being out of the market 1 or 2 days could mean a lot. So you don't have to sell if you don't need it or you don't want it. And I think that's a really big thing to note. So that's the number two thing. Number three thing, phase 2 guaranteed 80 hours of sick leave for full-time employees and partially paid leave for full-time employees with family members who have fallen ill with the COVID-19. Okay, so you've got some income relief, right? This all came in phase 2. It was a mandatory program that employers have to pay paid sick leave, and employers are going to get reimbursed for that via tax credit. Okay, so that's a big thing to know on both sides. Also, it expanded, now this is phase 2, it also expanded the food assistance programs and the unemployment benefits. Okay, so there is assistance out there. And one of the things that I think people are wondering is, well, what does that actually mean, or what can I actually get for that? Everything's a little bit different depending on, if you're a full-time employee, if you're the one that's sick, or your family's the one that's sick, or what's going on. So if you need details about that, make sure you ask us. We'll get you the correct information on it, because I don't have time to necessarily go through all those big deals. But one of the things I wanted to point out, though, about unemployment benefits in particular is there's a lot of people that, like self-employed people, that are not traditionally eligible for unemployment benefits. You are under this pandemic, okay? So you have to know that you can actually get up to $600 per week for 4 months if you're self-employed.
Wow.
Okay, so that's big. That's really big because we've never had that opportunity before. And again, government, what they're trying to do is just imagine this never happened in a sense. It's not going to happen, but it's going to help.
Right.
And that's big for people. Number 4, access. All right, so I'm even hesitant to talk about this one on the show. I'm not sure I want everybody knowing this because I don't want you touching your retirement funds. But you've got your IRA and your qualified accounts, right? And it should be the last place that you want to have to get to. Hopefully you've been prudent and you've been putting emergency savings back and you've got cash and you've got other assistance through these other programs that are out there. But if you have to get to money in your retirement account, there is relief. First of all, if you had to take it out before age 59 and a half, there was a 10% penalty to do that, right? Well, that's been waived. It's not there. Okay, so you can take it out of your 401k or your IRA without that 10% penalty. Now let's talk about that 401k, that qualified plan, for just a minute, okay? Now, every plan is different and the documents are written different. And it's going to be up to the plan sponsor on exactly what rules and how these rules are going to work. So just because I say this on the show, don't go to your HR person and they're like, well, we can't do that, and not understand what's going on. So you've got to wait for them to be able to implement the rules and how they're going to do it, okay? But you can access up to $100,000 out of your IRAs or your 401k without that 10% penalty. That's big.
That's huge.
That's big. Furthermore, there's increased loan limits, which is big for those 401ks. And the repayment time for qualified plans. So you can actually treat this as an IRA rollover, and you have up to 3 years to put it back in. without paying any tax on it. If you do pay tax on it, you can spread the income over 3 years. So let's say I'm going to use it, not 100,000 because it's too hard. But we're going to use 90,000. Say you took 90,000 out, you could pay tax on 90,000 or 30,000 this year, 30,000 next year, and 30,000 the next year. So they've really, really lightened that up for people to be able to access that. Okay. And then the fifth thing for individuals and families is tax extensions. Everything has been moved to July 15th. That was basically April 15th. So your first quarter tax payments, July 15th. I suspect they're going to probably do the same thing for your second quarter since that falls into June, right? And then also anything you needed to file for your tax return, that's been moved to July 15th. You can make IRA contributions up to July 15th. So think about anything that was that April 15th deadline is now July 15th. Okay, so that's really big. Also, ask your employer about your student loan repayment and tuition cost, because if you still got student loans on the book or tuition costs, they can contribute to that without that hitting your tax return this year. So that's really, really big. I know that's going to be a benefit to employers to be able to use and employees. So take advantage of that. And so I'm out of time. When we come back, we're going to talk about small businesses in the CARE Act, probably the most powerful piece of the entire CARE Act.
Final segment, Life Planning 101, right here on KATX KDY. Angela has lots and lots of information.
Yeah, too much for one show, right? The CARE Act. It's only 900 pages, and we're trying to condense it into 30 minutes. Woo! All right. So, yes, but we talked about individuals and families. If you missed that segment of the show, of course, all this rebroadcasts, Kennedy-Financial.com. We're on iHeartRadio, iTunes. We're everywhere.
Saturday morning, 9 a.m.
Yes, look us up. Weekly Life Lessons, and make sure you get this information or request it. We've got it in our office, happy to push it out to you. So let's get into small businesses. I think this is the piece that most of our listeners are probably waiting for. And as I get into this, I want to start by saying, because we work with a lot of farmers and ranchers, you have benefits available to you. Okay. If you're considered a business, you have benefits available to you. And I would think a farm or a ranch is considered a business.
An
okay.
Essential
So
business
yes.
on top of that.
Now there are some differences. Absolutely. So make sure if you've got questions about that, you call us. But I want to have that as a disclosure up front, because I do know we have a lot of farmers and ranchers that listen to the show. So let's get into this. Let's talk about cash, number one, because this is the biggest, and I think this is the one that everybody has been talking about over the last week. The PPP program, Paycheck Protection Program, also known as the 7A loan, also known as the SBA loan. Everybody says, I'm so confused, I don't know what to call it, right? I can't tell you how many times I heard that last week, but it is the 7A Paycheck Protection Program loan is what it is. And I know our bankers, I've been in close contact with one of them, and he's been working tirelessly to get this thing done for Americans, because they know that it is absolutely crucial to the survival of a lot of companies out there. This was another thing, and the big deal last week is we thought, and by the way, this is very interesting. I'm just kind of bouncing all over the board. Mnuchin came out and said the majority of the applications that had come in on Friday were from small banks. So that is promising to me,
right? Because
that tells me that there is businesses that are in dire need getting help.
Yes.
It's not these huge corporations out there, and they can't even apply. If you've got over 500 employees, you can't apply. Right. So, I love to hear that. And I also applaud the small banks. It just made my heart melt to see that, because I know there's a reason that we do business with small banks, and I applaud them for working tirelessly for the people that they care about in their communities and helping these loans go out, because I do know it makes all the difference in the world. So say a prayer for your banker this week. I mean it, because
sure.
they need it. They're under a lot of stress, and they don't have clear guidelines on this stuff. And it's a mess. It is an absolute mess, but people need money. And so they're doing everything they can to get that done. So we just want to thank them first and foremost. But, the biggest thing about this is, and what you need to know about it, if you haven't known already, is you need to get in line. You need to call your banker immediately and get in line, because you may say, well, I don't know if I would qualify or if I need benefits. Probably you do. So they made it available pretty much to everybody. They got rid of all of things that are usually pre-qualifiers to an SBA loan. And the whole point of it was to be able to help you get money to continue your payroll and keep the lights on, so to speak. So what you can actually get is 250% of your average monthly payroll on an annual basis. Okay. Now I know that sounds a little complex, and there's this is where your accountant is going to come in handy. And by the way, your accountant can get reimbursed for filling all this stuff out for you. Okay, by the government. They may not know that. Tell them. Right. So, all right, you don't have to pay them. They can get paid by the government for doing it. Pretty powerful. Okay, but it's 250% of your average monthly payroll. And you can take it up to 10% or a 10-year note. And then there's two different loan rates, whether you're a nonprofit or whether you're a for-profit. But, the first year is a 1% note. Okay, so that sounds all great, right? I get 250% of my payroll, da-da-da. That's not even the best part.
No.
Okay, the best part is the first 8 weeks after you're approved, you can get reimbursed for your expenses for payroll, your expenses for your rent, your utilities, and there was another one, and I don't have it highlighted
mortgage
here.
Interest.
Yeah, all your interest on your loans. You're right. So you can get that part forgiven. Now, here's the caveat. You've got to keep people employed, and you have to keep them at full pay. You're going to be reduced if you don't. So that's a biggie. Okay, let's get on to number 2, debt relief. The SBA will actually pay principal, interest, and fees on all existing SBA loans right now. So if you have an existing SBA loan, make sure that's getting paid. I'm sure it's already automatically happened, but that's huge. Emergency funds. So there's another SBA loan. It's called the Emergency Injury Disaster Loan, EIDL. And if you apply for it, whether you're approved or not, you immediately get $10,000 within 3 days. Okay, so it's just like emergency money hitting your account. And then after you get that money, you can actually get a 30-year loan on this with a 3.75% interest rate. Okay, so that's pretty powerful. Now, note.
Can you have that and the PPP?
That's what I was about to say. Great question. So you can have both. They cannot pay for the same thing. The good news about the EIDL loan is basically it's to pay for all your accounts payable. So you can separate out the costs that you need between the two. And I would highly recommend applying for both because it's a $10,000 grant. And even if you did get declined for the loan, you get to keep the grant for $10,000 and you aren't taxed for it. So that's big. It's $10,000. It's emergency money. Get it in your pocket. Do it. Just be careful you're not overlapping because it would make the PPP benefit, that 8-week benefit, go down if you do it wrong. Okay, so make sure you're setting that right. Okay, more cash. Let's suppose that you've had a net operating loss in 2018 or 2019. You can actually go back, amend those returns, and go back 3 years and recover that. The tax reform had actually ended that, and that resumed. Okay? Or if you don't do the PPP loan and you don't do the employee EIDL loan, you can get employee retention credits, okay? Now, these aren't as beneficial, but for some people, they make more sense. Virtually, it's up to $5,000 per employee, okay? So you can't do both. You can't do the SBA and that, but you need to know it exists because you need to be asking your CPA, which one should I be doing?
Right.
Okay? And then also note on that sick leave, we talked about the credit that you'll get for that. So if you're paying employees with sick leave, make sure you know that. And also, there's a ton of employee benefits that you can be paying for your employees to stay home, get childcare, all of these things, and you don't have to pay payroll tax on them. And they get that benefit tax free. It's under the emergency section of this plan. So it's massive that you can basically pay your employees for all their extra benefits, and you're going to get the write-off, and they're not going to have it hit their income tax. So that's big, okay? It's huge, all right? So the point is, again, there's so much information out here. There's so much misinformation out there. Make sure you're getting good resource on all of this before you just go willy-nilly and try to do something or get scammed in the meantime, right? And make sure that you remember that we're right here. We're here to help you quarterback any of these issues that you've got at Kennedy Financial Services in Eastland, Texas. Again, we keep everyone in our prayers through all of this coronavirus, and may God bless you and your families and keep you safe and keep you happy through this time as well. And we will come out. We will come out of this on the other side and be better as a country and better as a world. And we just have to make sure that we keep God at the center of it.
Thank you for joining us for Life Planning 101, brought to you by Kennedy Financial Services of Eastland. Tune in every Monday morning at 8:30 on KATX and KWBY, and again on Saturday morning at 9 o'clock on KATX and KWBY for more Life Planning 101.
Advisory services offered through Smart Money Group, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Colton & Associates Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC. Kennedy Financial Services Incorporated is an independent of Colton & Associates Incorporated and Smart Money Group, LLC.